The Book of Mirrors, a novel, by E.O. Chirovici. Read by Corey Brill, George Newbern, Jonathan Todd Ross, and Pete Simonelli.
Part 1. Peter Katz. Memories are like bullets. Some whiz by and only spook you. Others tear you open and leave you in pieces. Richard Kadrey, Kill the Dead. I received the submission in January when everybody at the agency was still trying to recover from the post-festive season hangovers. The message had deftly missed my junk folder, turning up in my inbox, where it formed part of a queue with a few dozen others. I cast a glance at the query and found it intriguing, so I printed it along with the attached pages from the partial manuscript and put them in my desk drawer. Busy completing a deal, I forgot about them until nearly the end of the month. It was on the weekend extended by Martin Luther King Day, and I rediscovered the papers lying in a pile of submissions I was planning on reading during the holiday. The query letter was signed Richard Flynn, and it went like this.
Dear Peter, my name is Richard Flynn, and 27 years ago I majored in English at Princeton. I dreamed of becoming a writer, published a few short stories in magazines, and even wrote a 300-page novel, which I abandoned after it was rejected by a number of publishers, and which I myself now find mediocre and dull. After that, I got a job at a small advertising agency in New Jersey, and I've remained in the industry to this day. At first, I fooled myself into believing that advertising could be likened to literature, and that one day I'd go back to being a writer. Obviously, nothing of the sort happened. I think that for most people, growing up means, unfortunately, gaining the ability to lock their dreams in a box and throw it in the East River. I was no exception to the rule, it would seem. But a few months ago, I discovered something important, which brought back to my memory a series of tragic events that took place in the fall and winter of 1987, my last year at Princeton. You probably know how it is. You think you've forgotten something, an event, a person, a situation, and then all of a sudden you realize that the memory has been languishing in some secret room in your mind, and that it's always been there, as if it happened only yesterday. It's like opening an old closet full of junk, and all you have to do is move one box for it all to come crashing down on you. That thing was like a detonator. An hour after I found out the news, I was still thinking about its significance. I sat down at my desk, and, overwhelmed by memories, I wrote. By the time I stopped, it was long after midnight, and I'd written more than 5,000 words. It was as if I'd suddenly rediscovered who I was, after completely forgetting myself. When I went to the bathroom to brush my teeth, it seemed to me as if a different person was looking at me from the mirror. For the first time in many years, I fell asleep without taking a pill first, and the next day, after telling the people at the agency that I'd be out sick for the next few weeks, I continued to write. The details of the events of those months in '87 came back to my mind with such force and clarity that they quickly grew more vivid and powerful than anything else in my present life. It was as if I'd woken up from a deep sleep, during which my mind had silently been preparing itself for the moment when I'd begin to write about the events whose protagonists were Laura Baines, Professor Joseph Weider, and I. Of course, given its tragic outcome, the story had found its way into the newspapers at the time, at least in part. I myself got harassed by police detectives and reporters for quite a while. That was one of the factors that led me to leave Princeton and pursue my M.A. at Cornell, living for 2 long, dull years in Ithaca. But nobody ever found out the truth about the whole story, one that changed my life forever. As I said, I chanced upon the truth 3 months ago, and I realized that I had to share it with others, even though the anger and frustration I felt, and still feel, were overwhelming. But sometimes hatred and pain can be a fuel just as strong as love. The result of that intention is the manuscript I recently completed after an effort that left me physically and mentally exhausted. I attach a sample in accordance with the instructions I found on your website. The manuscript is complete and ready for submission. If you'd be interested in reading the whole thing, I'll send it to you immediately. The working title I've chosen is The Book of Mirrors. I'll stop here because my laptop says that I've already exceeded the 500-word limit for a query. Anyhow, there's not much else to say about me. I was born and raised in Brooklyn. I've never been married nor had children, partly, I believe, because I've never